Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Anthony, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Well, welcome to anyone who happens to be listening. This is the pilot first episode of the History Student Association Student Podcast. I am the president of the HSA. With me is Anthony, our treasurer, vice president, and all around awesome dude. Uh, so, uh, you know, we are both his dream majors, and well, in my experience, one of the cool but troubling things about being a history major is that you spend all this time researching a subject that you find amazing, right? But the only person who ever reads your essay is the professor. Sometimes another student will read your rough draft, but the only person who gets to truly enjoy your crazy research is the professor, right? Yes, there's ex post facto who will occasionally publish your essays if you're lucky, but they can only publish like maybe 10 a year. And there's hundreds of us on campus, and I'm sure some of us have something interesting that we'd like to talk about, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And so this is an opportunity for students to do that and to break the ice on this. I am going to talk about something I've been researching this semester for Professor Postal's history of modern conservatism seminar, right? So this is for seminars. You do independent research projects, right? They'll have to be like a theme tying the research project into the class. But since this class is about American conservatism, you just had to tie it into the American conservatism movement in some way, right? And I decided, because I'm crazy, to research conspiracy theories. Specifically, tried to tie, because for some background info, just in case this is being listened to in the future, or if you just haven't been paying attention, now the conspiracy movement of QAnon has become a major influence in the conservative community. Conspiracy theories themselves have become a major movement in the conservative movement. The Donald Trump himself got famous by endorsing the conspiracy theory of birtherism, right? The January 6th insurrection, which happened in 2020, happened because people believed in a conspiracy theory of the Great Lie. And so this is something, and so that was kind of the historical issue I wanted to look into. How'd we get here? What is all this about? Right? And so the first thing to look into for this is, what is Q? So Q is not a conspiracy theory, right? A conspiracy theory is like believing the earth is flat. It's a singular belief, right? Now, granted, believing in one conspiracy theory is very likely to make you believe in another conspiracy theory, but Q itself is more of a conspiracy movement. There are multiple conspiracy theories wrapped up inside the Q umbrella, right? There are two main conspiracy theories that there are others, but the two that I believe are the most important are the conspiracy theory surrounding adrenochrome, and the conspiracy theory surrounding the cabal. The cabal conspiracy theory is the idea that there's this one super organization that is running, if not all American politics, the entire world. It is the deep state. It is the one world government. It is the New World Order. Are you familiar with these terms?
Yeah, I've definitely heard of them
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Cabal is simply the newest version of these, right?
Hmm.
The However, the Cabal, this idea of like the New World Order, one of the earliest references to that dates back to a notorious article, a notorious not article because it's 100 pages long. It's like a book. It's a small little book called "The Protocols of the Elders of Zion." Now, you've at least heard of this, right?
Well, yeah, I've heard the term Zion go around before, but I would like to hear you define it for me.
Okay, so a little background on terms. So Zionism is the word used to describe Jewish nationalism. It's the term that is used to describe like Israeli nationalists, right? It was the move before Israel was a nation state. It was the term used to describe the political movement to fighting for a Jewish national state, right? Jewish people all over the world got together in conferences, exchanged letters, wrote pamphlets and books talking about how we need to create our own little nation state, right?
Mm-hmm.
That movement is called Zionism. That is technically different from anti-Semitic, right? Anti-Semitic is just being, you know, hating Jew people, believing the conspiracy theories about them, etc. Things like that. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So uh, this pamphlet though, full title, "The Jewish Peril: The Protocols of the Elders of Zion," was published in the first decade of the 1900s somewhere in Russia. We know this because it was first published in Russian. It was quickly translated into other languages. The copy I have and read for my research paper was published in London in 1920. So, now I'm going to tell. We don't know who published it. We do know it's a forgery because this is conspiracy theory nonsense. None of it's real, you know? However, I'll what the document claims to be is a memoir based on the minutes of a secret meeting that took place in France, and then this memoir was brought over to Russia and published in Russian. So are you tracking this conspiracy so far, right?
It's already made a lot of different leaps.
Yeah. It's like this is a secret memoir somebody wrote about
Hmm.
a meeting they supposedly were at in France,
Hmm.
and then it was published in Russian.
I can see where this is going.
Yeah. And the intro of this document, along with giving that information, and along with saying how like, oh, these are the minutes of the secret meeting, and the secret meeting is all about how the Jews are planning to take over the world, right?
Hmm.
It then goes into depth about how Imperial Russia is the last great hope to prevent this global takeover.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That
sounds
is
a
that's a very popular belief even within modern Russia.
yeah. Well, no, well, it's because like you've got the ultra conservative Imperial Russia,
Hmm.
and nowadays you've got the conservatives saying we're the last hope to prevent, instead of the Jews, it's the liberals from taking over the world and destroying the American way of life.
Yes.
That's it's they've like the conspiracy theory is pretty much replaced the word Jew with liberal, and that is like 90% of the QAnon, right? But the important thing with the thing in, and you might wonder how that logical leap happened, and it's not just because they're not. It's not just because we're these people were this was written by royalist conservatives. The document claims that pretty much all political movements, from Darwin to Karl Marx to Nietzsche, are all just plots created by the elders of Zion to enact what my translation calls the super government.
Oh, wait.
Yes,
So you're telling me that the deep state is a conspiracy of Zion leaders trying to take over the world?
that's what the product that in the early 1900s, that was the thesis of this air quotes manuscript, right? And keep in mind, it also claimed that the last great hope of the world to stop the super government was Imperial Russia.
Of course it was.
Yes. And it goes on to say how, this document is 100 pages long. Is about 100 pages long, right? Might be like 105, 110, but it's just over 100 pages long, right?
Hmm.
And it goes on to say how, like, we have to, we need to take over journalism. We need to destroy the family. We need to destroy Christianity. Notice how conservatives are still saying all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the, the the interesting thing is that the Protocols of the Elder Zion claims that everything from liberalism and socialism and the left and anarchy are just plots to institute the super government, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that is the loose link to the protocols to the cabal. It's simply the evolution of the super government, new world order, deep state to the one world government to the cabal, right? It's just them changing the lingo a little bit,
Okay.
right? The second big conspiracy theory in QAnon is adrenochrome. Now, adrenochrome sounds like a scientific made-up word.
Yeah.
It is real.
Okay.
However, what adrenochrome is, it is simply, it was discovered in like the 1950s. In the 1950s and 60s, there were a few scientific articles researching the subject, researching this substance to figure out if there were like any medical applications for it, if they could use it for something. Nobody really found anything. And the only people talking about adrenochrome today are either conspiracy theorists or people trying to debunk conspiracy theories. Now, I'll tell you what the scientific journals and modern debunkers say. Adrenochrome is just the byproduct your body makes after processing adrenaline.
Okay.
That's it. Your body makes it all the time, you know?
Uh-huh.
Now, I'll tell you what QAnon believes adrenochrome is. They believe that, members of the cabal or the deep state or whoever they don't like are kidnapping children to harvest adrenochrome from them, and they use adrenochrome as a elixir of youth.
Dramatic pause.
I was waiting for you to say something, dude.
Well, those are two very different things.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
So
It almost seems like they're not related, perhaps.
they're no, but you have to realize. So this conspiracy theory goes way back. where the Protocols of Elders of Zion is like 120 years old. So the concept of, a group kidnapping people and like sacrificing them,
Uh-huh.
so dates back is kind of a modern evolution of what is called Jewish blood libel.
Blood libel.
Yes, you are saying it correct. The earliest recorded instance of something like this was in the 1st century CE. That means before the year 100 CE, so before a very long time. And the air quotes rumor goes something like this: that every year, according in a little pamphlet called Against Apion, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Against Apeon, right?
Mm.
This very old document made the claim that every year the Jews would capture a Greek, fatten him up, and then ritualistically sacrifice this Greek every year. And when they did so, they pledged eternal hatred towards all Greeks.
Really?
Yeah,
And you're saying that's a rumor? Are
that
there any
was
evidence
that
for
was
it?
an accusation. Again, you have to realize the Romans didn't like the Jews.
That's true.
I'm not gonna go into the why is a different discussion, but this rumor evolved, and in 415 CE, 400, not 1400, 400 CE, we have the
Mhm.
earliest records of what we would now call Jewish blood libel. And the rumor of Jewish blood libel is that Jews have to capture Christians and ritualistically blood sacrifice them for their holy days.
Who exactly is making these claims? First, it was the Romans, and then
This is still, it's 415. It's still the Romans.
it's still the Romans.
Yeah,
Oh,
the rumors survive up until into the Middle Ages,
of course.
and between 1144 to 1235, the CE, there's a chain of multiple accusations. A lot of them in England. Then it spreads to France, and then eventually spreads to the Holy Roman Empire. And there's actually an infamous incident in the Holy Roman Empire where 5 children were murdered. In retaliation, the community murdered like 35 Jews.
Oh,
When the Holy Roman Emperor at the time investigated this account, he had to issue an official imperial proclamation absolving the Jews of any guilt for ritual murder sacrifice. Because part of the investigation was, hey, are you kidnapping and murdering Christians for your religious festivals? No? Okay, here's my imperial creed absolving you of this accusation. Like,
oh.
you find that a little weird, right? That they
Uh,
would even go there?
yeah.
But this belief survives.
Oh my god.
1928, in September, New York State, not city. A 4-year-old girl named Barbara Griffith disappears one day. The local police decide to from what I've read, they technically did not arrest the local rabbi. They simply, encouraged him to go down to the police station where they interrogated him.
Oh.
Yeah. And they're like, did you kidnap this little girl for your ritual blood holidays? For your Jewish blood holidays or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Now, thankfully, the little girl made it back on her own. Because
Cool.
guess what happened?
But,
She had literally just wandered off looking for her older brother, fell asleep, woke up, and walked home.
Oh my god.
During that short amount of time, the police dragged a rabbi to the police station and interrogated him instead of, I don't know, like forming a search party to look for a 4-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is yeah, this
Yeah.
pattern stretches a long period of time.
Yeah. And but it's a theme. It's like Christians believing Jews are kidnapping children to drain their blood. So, do you remember Pizzagate? Were you paying attention to the news in 2016?
No, I was in 7th grade.
Okay, fair enough. I was in 2016. I was just getting out of the military. I was getting out of the military, so I was getting. So I was. So, are you familiar with Pizzagate at all?
No, explain it to me.
Okay, so the Pizzagate event goes like this. There was this conspiracy theory online that in the basement of a pizza restaurant in Washington, D.C., there was a pedophilia sex ring ran by Hillary Clinton and all her Democratic liberal allies. This went on for months. The local not just the restaurant that was being accused of this charge. Local businesses in the area were getting harassment calls because of this conspiracy theory. In December of 2016, somebody grabbed an assault rifle. Somebody from North Carolina drove all the way to Washington, D.C. to this pizza restaurant and was like, started demanding to. He went there to save the children he was convinced were kidnapped.
Yeah. I think, actually, I feel like I do remember something like this. But
Yeah.
he was completely fooled, but completely thought that it was true.
Yeah. It's.
Oh no.
I think you're lagging, bud.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like, if you believe that is happening, what he did was reasonable. The problem is, it's a conspiracy theory,
Uh-huh.
But that conspiracy theory that has evolved into the adrenochrome conspiracy theory, now believed by the members of QAnon.
All right, I'm back.
All right. Yeah. So to make sure to draw this map, sometime in the 1st century CE, there's accusations start that Jews are kidnapping people to murder them for their holy days, and this accusation survived to this day. Like, we have an incident of it in 1928.
Yeah.
Instead of it simply being the Jews kidnapping children, by 2016, it's the liberals kidnapping children.
So, like, liberals and Jews have been like intertwined in these kind of accusations.
And again, this is why I mentioned the Protocols of the Elders of Zion first, because that document is the link linking Jews with everything left and liberal, because the protocols claim that leftists and liberalism is simply a front to install the super government. So
Wow.
the connection's always been there. The change that has happened kind of now is, instead of them being like a front for the plot, they're in on the plot. That's like the only real change that has happened.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And
like the conservatives in that imperial Russia that you mentioned before,
yeah,
are the ones destined
to stop the conspiracy, to save
yes.
the world from the super government.
Uh-huh. Oh.
And so
and promote
Yeah,
Christianity and peace
yeah.
and the truth.
And and here's the thing, like, it might be, like, on yes, we've tracked the evolution, the history of these conspiracy theories and how they've both merged under Q, but that doesn't really explain why Americans are were susceptible to this in the first place.
Right.
And now we get into a little bit of a historiography. So, well, conspiracy theories, paranoid thinking is not something a lot of historians have studied in depth, right? Because, I
Mhm.
mean, it's conspiracy theories, right? Historians want to write about real things, not what crazy people think, right? But there have been researchers and academics who have researched this seriously and tried to explain it, right? An important article on the subject was written in 1964. It's called "The Paranoid Style in American Politics." It was written by Richard Hofstadter. So his article does not use the term conspiracy theory. It uses the term paranoid thinking,
Hmm.
which makes sense. It's and he traces back the origins of America's paranoid thinking to our colonial days, where there's a lot of anti-Catholic and anti-Mason thinking. Do I have to? What do you know about the Freemason Society?
Not much. Can you explain
Uh,
it even again?
the Freemason Society, like, it's real. There's a
Mhm.
there's a Masonic hall in San Francisco. Actually, it's a private society. People join. A lot of the founding fathers were actually Freemasons.
Okay.
It's a private society. It's a quote unquote secret society, but it's not really secret. It's just a private society.
Uh-huh.
But uh, the early Americans thought it was, the whole idea of this private and quote unquote secret society could be like, again, if you're engaged in paranoid thinking, oh, it's this secret private society. It's going to corrupt our Republican values, right? Anti Catholic is more of that Americans are mostly Protestant, right?
Mm.
You know, well, they're not Catholic. And Catholics, however, the French and the Spanish are mostly Catholic.
Yeah.
And so it was like your foreign influence coming in to corrupt our American way of life. Or
Yeah.
in the pre-colonial days, it would have been our English traditions or something like that, right? They were English, they were Protestant mostly, and therefore they were anti-Catholic, right?
Mhm.
Richard Hofstadter, when he wrote about paranoid thinking, he wrote this in the 1960s. And he was responding to McCarthy and McCarthyism and his Red Scare and the Red Scare during the 1950s and 1960s, right?
Mhm.
Short little Cold War history. McCarthy was a senator in the U.S. Congress, and he got famous by accusing everybody of being a communist, right?
Yeah.
Duh. And McCarthyism eventually died because he made the mistake of like accusing army generals of being communists. At that point, it's like, dude, you've overstepped your bounds a little bit. But again, it was, socialism and communism was seen as this invasive influence. You know, if you're a paranoid thinker, think back to the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Paranoid thinkers thought leftism and communism and liberalism was just a front to install the super government, right?
Mhm.
And so even if you don't believe in that conspiracy theory, a lot of people were still anti-communist. A lot of people still are anti-communist and anti-socialist for many different reasons, not reasons we're gonna get into at the moment, right?
Mhm.
And uh, to get more modern, another researcher, a professor Michael Barkund, he wrote a book in 2003 called "A Culture of Conspiracy." He's more of a political scientist, and so he was kind of writing about the history of a history of conspiracy theories in the U.S. from what he understood it. That book came out in 2003, though. And so while he does have a last chapter about 9/11, keep in mind these books can take like 10 years to write. And so there's very little on 9/11. He gave an interview about a decade later where he was asked, so what do you think are like the important developments in like American conspiracy culture? So in about 2013, he lists two situations: 9/11 and the Obama years. So 9/11, I'm there's a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding the 9/11 terrorist attack, right? The whole jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams is almost like a joke at this point, right? We've all heard that, right?
Yeah.
And so even if you're not on conspiracy theorists, there's a lot of people who doubt the official story, right? The important thing with 9/11 is that it increased the number of people who believe in conspiracy theories. As for 9/11 conspiracy theories specifically, they again thought 9/11 was going to be an incident to help install the New World Order. Again, we go back to the New World Order.
Yeah.
We go back to the super government. Right? And Obama, again, in 2008, you were still in what, middle school?
Yeah. No, definitely. No,
Yeah.
No, I was in elementary.
2008?
I was born in 2003.
Oh dear God. You make me feel so old, Anthony.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Anyway, so Obama, have you heard of birtherism?
No.
Okay, so birtherism is a conspiracy theory that a Barack Obama is not a natural-born U.S. citizen. And that's where you get conspiracy theories of show us the birth certificate.
Oh,
You know?
that's so mean.
Yeah. Like, like you joke, you're too young where you didn't really hear. It wasn't part of the people. Your generation wasn't talking about it, right? Mine
Right.
was. I remember seeing on Fox News and members of the Tea Party shouting about where's show us the birth certificate, right?
Yeah.
And birtherism in the context of American conservative politics is important. There's two factors I think are very important for us to understand. One, Donald Trump was one of the loudest birthers out there.
During Obama's?
Yeah, Donald
Really?
Trump, he kind of got one of the that was kind of his foot into U.S. politics because he was an avid birther. He was like, I do not believe Barack Obama is a U.S. citizen. Donald Trump, he recanted the statement in like 2015 or 2016 during the presidential election, but like I don't believe he meant it. It was just like, oh, I have to say this so people don't think I'm as crazy, but my real followers will know I'm saying this just for optics. But yeah, no, for in the entirety of Obama's years, so Donald Trump was like, he's Obama's not a legit U.S. president because birtherism, and like this was not a non-mainstream belief. In 2010, a poll found that about 25% of Americans believed in birtherism. So, if you want to estimate that half the population is Republican and 25% of the American population believes in birtherism, that's like half the Republican Party believes in a conspiracy theory. In 2010. Conspiracy theories are by that point, conspiracy theories are no longer a minority opinion. This is mainstream politics now. And you have
Yeah.
25% of the adult population. And this is the people who believed it, not those who are like, maybe.
Hmm. Wow, I did
Right?
not expect that to be so big, but I guess
Yeah.
when you look at, what's it called? Online discourse and like political discussions
And yeah,
online,
and this was in 2010.
and that, yeah, that was, so it's presumably greater now, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of the point. So you have a conservative population, so that you have the American politics. Conservatives are riled up because half of them already believe, because a good majority of Americans believe in a major conspiracy where Obama is not a legit president because he's a foreign-born Muslim, right?
Hmm.
And then Donald Trump comes along, and Donald Trump said, like, there's enough people who have commented and made fun of the crazy things he said, or pointed out how the crazy things he said are terrifying, right?
Yeah.
But in 2017, and keep in mind, so Donald Trump became president in the 2016, right? Or
Hmm.
that was the presidential election cycle of 2016.
Hmm.
Pizzagate happened in 2016. These are not coincidences,
Yeah.
you know. Like, and keep in mind, Pizzagate was a conspiracy theory that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats are running a pedophilia sex ring in the basement of a restaurant that doesn't even have a basement. Yeah, these conspiracy theories just grew. The first Q post that I know of was in September of 2017. And I don't have time to. There are Q podcasts. There are entire podcasts just dedicated to Q. There are entire books dedicated to the QAnon. I don't have enough time to go into QAnon a lot, but suffice to say, while Q might have started as a prank, it soon developed into a very pro-Trump voice, right?
Hmm.
Now, we don't know who Q is. And even the hypotheses differ on if you're a member of QAnon, short for QAnominous, or a researcher debunker, right?
Hmm.
If you're a member of QAnon, you believe Q is a member of the U.S. government, usually the intelligence community, and the name of Q is because they have a Q level clearance, right? Now, for the record, Q level clearances do exist, but they're for the Department of Energy, not the military, not the CIA. They're for the Department of Energy.
Hmm.
Yeah. So if you're a member, but if you're a QAnon, you believe Q has a Q clearance and is a member of the intelligence community or a member of Trump's staff. General Michael Flynn was a popular choice, or maybe even Trump himself.
Oh.
Yeah,
So this is whole like, yeah, again, like with the secret
yeah,
organization, they have their own system.
yeah. And again, part of the QAnon, it's like his campaign was, I'm going to drain the swamp. This goes back into the conspiracy theory, paranoid belief that there's this shadow, deep state, one world government, new world order, super government, that the only way to save it is, the harking back to the Imperial Russia, conservative authoritarianism. Instead of saying the Tsar of Russia is the only one who could save us, now it's only Donald Trump can save us. That's yeah.
It's funny how it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
It's definitely like I did not expect the line to be this. Like I researched I was researching this and expecting it would take some work to draw the connection, but no, it's not like it wasn't. It was surprisingly easy to draw the connection. I'm like, I was expecting this to be hard, but it's like,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
It's very
no,
blatant.
it was
How?
blatantly it was a blatant connection, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what scares that's the part that surprised me when I started this research.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Conservative Party like really, what's it called? Godifies Donald Trump in many ways,
Yeah,
as
well,
a
and
leader.
that's part of the conservative the paranoid thinking, because again to go back to Protocols of Zion, the quote unquote the claim of it is that imperial the reason Imperial Russia could fight off the conspiracy is because they still had their divine king.
Mhm.
They were still a Christian society, and that's why they were the last hope. And
Mhm.
again, what do you see? The the you have conservatives saying, "Oh, Donald Trump is going to save Christians and therefore save America from the godless left who wants to destroy the family, destroy American way of life, and
Uh-huh.
pick something they want to destroy it." Right?
Yeah.
It's literal, like,
Wow.
yeah, it is. Yeah, I know this kind of I haven't written a conclusion for this yet for this paper yet because it's still technically the rough draft stage. But yeah,
Mhm.
but it's everything, all this paranoid thinking. Literally, half of the paranoid thinking of the QAnon movement can be traced back to the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. I do have to say half because surprisingly, it does not mention blood libel.
No.
No, yeah, no. That's why there's like you have these two separate threads of conspiracy theories. They both just happen to be about Jews. One's the blood libel, one's the super government. But the Protocols of the Elders of Zion doesn't talk about blood libel.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, that's kind of that's my research.
But it paints a better picture, I think, of our modern political landscape.
Yeah,
It's always been something that I've thought of how the Republican conservative view of the world, in contrast to like kind of like the utopian view of the left and liberals, of like
right.
having a free society where everyone can express themselves however they want and like no
But again,
intolerance.
yeah, but to the paranoid thinking of
Yeah.
conservatives, that is just a front to
Uh-huh.
install the super government.
Right,
That's
right.
it's all. It's a front. It's a plot. It's yeah. It's yeah.
Yeah,
That's the belief. That
yeah.
it's a front, and we could have a whole other session. There could be a whole other session about like
Mhm.
the fundamentals of conservative thought, but that would be a separate essay, right?
Yeah.
But and I'm simply trying to talk about like the conspiracy thinking. And the
Hmm.
conspiracy thinking the paranoid thinking, the conspiracy theory is that it's all just a front, and that's why they don't care, and therefore all bets are off. Stop it by any means.
And yeah, that's how you get,
Yeah,
totalitarianism and
yeah. Well, they think totalitarianism's a good thing,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But anyway, that's where I think it's about time to wrap this up because we're actually at the 44-minute mark.
Yeah, no, that was a really good first round, I believe.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, for anyone listening, I'm Forrest, the current president of the History Students Association.
And I'm Anthony. I am the vice president and treasurer of the HSA.
Yeah. And I hope you enjoyed my crazy ramblings. If you have a subject you would like to talk about, please contact the please contact somebody in the History Students Association, and we will arrange a time and place to do your own recording, and will be it will be our pleasure to listen to you. You can follow the History Students Association by joining us on Gator Express. There's also a Twitter and Instagram, and we have a Discord. And this will be going up on our YouTube, which will
Yeah.
finally have a video on it. Yay!
Yeah. Yay. Yeah, we really hope this is the first of many to come.
Yes. All right, and with that, uh, uh, have a great day and go Gators!
Hell yeah. Go Gators.